I gave up action cameras years ago, but after 100 days with the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, I might be changing my mind about these kinds of cameras. So in this video, I'm testing out this camera in several situations to show where it excels, where it doesn't, and if these results are enough for the recommend. But this isn't just an action camera anymore, because it's packed with features that rivals cameras twice the price. It's got internal stabilization, built-in wireless microphone support, and super slow motion, as well as much more. But here's what really caught me off guard. This action camera has actually become a legitimate tool for everyday content creation, not just for sports or any action activity. By the end of this video, you'll know if this $350 camera can be your all-in-one camera solution for your creative vision or not. Here's my problem as a content creator. I have amazing camera gear that can shoot almost anything that I need it to, but I can't take them everywhere and I can't leave them everywhere. I can't throw them in tight spaces or mount them in risky positions or hand them off without having my heart stopping. I didn't want a camera that I had to babysit, nor did I want a camera that got everybody's attention when I walk inside the room. So could I find a camera small enough that could do all that and still get great looking footage? I decided to go ahead and buy the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro in hopes that this would be that tool to fit those gaps and film what my mirrorless cameras and even my Osmo Pocket 3 couldn't. Those kinds of cameras can shoot beautiful things, but I didn't want to put it at risk in situations like recording my pickleball and tennis matches. One of the best things about the DJI Osmo Action 5 is that it can capture slow motion and for a good price. We get 4K at 120 frames per second or even 1080p at 240 frames per second. Normally we would have to spend upwards of $700 or $2,000 or even more thousands of dollars just to get the kinds of slow motion capabilities that this offers. So this at $350 is a great value already. And if we're not even trying to slow down our footage, your action shots will definitely look smoother when we record in higher frame rates. Just note that it'll eat into your battery life, but more on that later. With these higher frame rates, I'm able to record my technique when it comes to tennis or pickleball, and I'm able to really appreciate the frame by frame action and really critique what am I doing wrong and where can I improve. Overall, the resolution and the frame rates coming out of this camera, it's a win. But that's just the beginning, because what's good footage if you can't keep it stable? You see, they're still out there selling gimbals for phones, but a camera like the Osmo Action 5 Pro, we don't even need it. Anybody still remember them selling gimbals for the GoPro back in the day? I ended up testing this camera out at the boardwalk and whenever I could get outside and check out the stabilization. Not only does DJI provide one stabilization mode, but 3. I haven't used this kind of camera, at least this action camera, since the first iteration. So a lot has been improved since I last picked one up. And even as someone who wasn't familiar with the features at first, being able to pick one of the 3, it's hard to choose wrong since they all work very well. Typically though, I'll just go with horizon balancing mode to keep my vlog smooth and leveled while balancing the walking and talking when using this camera. But if you use Rock Steady or Rock Steady Plus in terms of like mounting this onto your neck or mounting it on your helmet or anything like that, that works as well. And while vlogging, you may be thinking about doing things like point of view shots or POV shots. And this camera, it's excellent for that, as it's got that wide angle lens that just helps you capture everything in front of you. However, if you do want to do things like a showcasing of a product close up, this is where one of the first downsides of this camera starts to show, as it has a far minimum focus distance. You can't get quite close enough to get a kind of macro shot if you really want to get into the small details of whatever product you're holding. You do have to hold it out. So that's unfortunate. If anything, you're better off just zooming in camera or zooming in your editing software afterwards to see those smaller details. But if you want a macro lens kind of shot, Neewer does sell a macro lens for the Action 5 and Action 4. I just haven't personally tried it out. So in terms of stabilization, it's a W, but in terms of macro capabilities, it's an L. Now, we can't forget about one of the bigger upgrades, which is the battery life. Although I can't speak about the battery life of the previous Action 4 camera, I can say that during my long tennis matches and full day vlogs, I typically needed 2 batteries minimum when it came to using my Sony setup. However, with the Action 5 alone, 1 battery lasted me all my tennis sessions and the drive home. For the tennis sessions, I was recording like 4K 24 and I only played like an hour and a half or so. Anytime I vlogged with it for the day, I never had to replace my battery. I usually only had to carry 2 batteries for a full day, just in case. Some of us forget to recharge our battery before bed. The Action 4 battery was rated for 160 minutes, while the Action 5 Pro is rated for 240 minutes. If you're not used to vlogging yourself, then you'll probably end up recording a lot of footage, and more footage means less battery life in the end. This is especially if you're recording in 4K. Fortunately, with this camera, you'll be able to record more. First, you start out vlogging yourself and deciding how much to actually record, but eventually as you keep going and going, you'll be able to make that battery life go even longer as you get more discernment about how much to shoot as well as how long. Instead of switching between batteries, you'll probably only need 1 battery as you start getting used to the process. I've recorded long tennis matches, talking head segments in the car, and pickleball games, and never felt like I had to switch batteries unless I was recording in 4K 60 frames per second. For the time that I did record in 4K 60 frames per second under the sun, I got 1 hour and 38 minutes and 5 seconds. In indoor situations, I was able to record 4K 24 in 3 hours and 10 minutes. And then here are the other total record times with other settings. So depending on what you plan to use this camera for, you can kind of use these baseline times for what you actually want to record, plus or minus some time. Now, something that I often pair up with the battery life is testing overheating. And although I don't deliberately put this camera out to the sun to overheat, I found that while I was recording my tennis sessions at 4K 60 under the warm 80-degree Fahrenheit weather, the camera ended up not dying because of overheating, but because of battery life. Now, I never felt like I got 240 minutes of battery life, but because of the way that I was able to use it, I still feel like battery life is a W, and overheating is also a W, since it hardly ever did that. As good as battery life is though on this camera, it won't be enough to save you from falls and dinks that may happen to it. If we're buying an action camera, it's because it's tough. In general, I'm comfortable putting this in kind of risky situations. I mean, I can mount it anywhere with these magnetic mounts that it has, but also I can put a cage on this, ultimately giving me mounting options that I didn't have before. I can mount it to my car, mount it on a selfie stick, mount it on my helmet, or mount it on my chest. This thing is so light, it's so easy not to put it anywhere. If you're into water activities, this can go 20 meters without a waterproof case and 60 meters with one. Me, I have no business going that far at all. Nope. When outside the water, if your camera takes a fall, lens first, we can replace that. That's a W. Generally, this camera can weather the elements, except for 1, low light. Any camera can suffer in low light, but the cameras that tend to suffer the most are the ones with the smaller sensors, like from an action camera. I've taken some footage inside a church, outside in the dark, as well as at the pickleball courts or tennis courts. With any camera, if you do want to get the best low light footage, do make sure that your subject is in a good light source to help expose for your subjects. But if you can't have any, I totally get it. You just gotta do what you gotta do. For me, the best image that comes out of the camera in low light footage is still regular mode, as it's not as processed. And since I'm more comfortable with playing around with noise reduction, I prefer to have that with more detail than processed footage that gets rid of it. Thanks DJI for including a low light mode, but still gotta give this an L. That's just a personal preference. Now, we've been talking about the video capabilities of the DJI Osmo Action 5, but when you talk about video, you can't ignore the audio. That's why for our last test, we have to see what it's like taking this camera outside and talking to it. I'm trying out the audio. This is built into the camera. Ugh. We have the wind muff on, but we have turned off the noise reduction. Maybe you'll still hear the operation of the machines and the rides going on. All right, we're doing some noise reduction mode right now. We're heading to the boardwalk to see if how it is with crowds. Now, typically with any pro setup, you gotta have your video camera with a wireless microphone or a shotgun mic. Fortunately, today is a great day to become a creator because you can go ahead and document your life, create YouTube videos, or whatever kind of videos you want just by simply having an Action 5 with a DJI Mic Mini. No receiver required. It's already built into the camera. So instead of having to invest in a receiver to use with this thing, you can go ahead and use that money and spend it on something like music so you can further enhance the quality of your video, like Artlist. Links in the description. If you're considering to get a vlogging setup on a budget, this combo is an easy recommend. Audio that comes out of the Action 5 Pro is decent, but it becomes more of a W when you pair it with a wireless microphone and the DJI ecosystem of microphones. Whether I use the Mic Mini or the Mic 2, they all work seamlessly. Now, if we still have any doubts about this camera, are there any special features that this can still offer that could possibly change our minds about whether this is good or this is actually bad? Well, one of the things that this camera has going for it is that it has internal storage of 47 gigabytes. To put that in perspective, it's at least 30 minutes of 4K 60 frames per second. And when I shot that footage, it was only 27 gigabytes. So it's plenty. And if you're especially good at managing your storage, you can definitely make this go a long way, especially if you only record in short clips. So that's another W. However, is this camera more for you or is it like a family camera? You see, this thing has what's called pre-recording. And this comes in clutch if you are capturing your kids or other special moments that you thought you actually just missed. If you have your camera pointed at your subject and hit record after the moment happened while pre-recording is turned on, then you actually captured it. Mind-boggling, but hey, W for moment capturing. How about for your car? Well, if you needed a dash cam but you don't have that extra dash cam money, then this also comes in clutch with loop recording. So you can capture footage when you're out and about. Just don't forget to take your nice new camera out of your car when you're done. Depending on the cities where you may be traveling to, maybe someone wants your camera instead. That would be an L, but it's a W for another purpose coming out of this camera. Now, before giving my verdict on my experience with the Action 5, what about those of you who are thinking about the Action 4? If you already have the Action 4 and you're happy with it, this probably won't change your mind, and you should realistically be waiting for the 6th or the 7th iteration. If it's been a while since you've upgraded your camera and you have an older Action camera, but you don't need the latest and greatest, the Action 4 actually comes with a lot of these features at a discount. At the time of this recording, it's actually $100 less than this. So it's $250. Wow. Otherwise, if you're in the budget for the latest and greatest, well, this camera isn't going to disappoint when it comes to filming yourself and the life that you live. After 100 days, I'm glad to say that the Action 5 Pro has restored my faith in action cameras. It's a W. If you think this camera couldn't get any better, wait till you add accessories to it. So I gave you the best ones right over here.